All right, today we're talking about a drug that was a huge game changer for millions of people. It's called Enbrel. And the story of how it works is honestly just brilliant science. We're going to get into how this amazing decoy drug figured out how to tame the body's own immune system. So, what if your own body was the enemy? I mean, think about that for a second. The very system that's supposed to protect you, suddenly it gets its signals all mixed up. Instead of fighting off viruses, it starts attacking you, your own healthy cells. That's the heartbreaking reality for people with autoimmune disease, and that's the exact problem Enbrel was designed to tackle. Okay, so to really get how this solution works, you first have to understand the problem. You got to meet the villain of the story. And here he is. The villain's name is tumor necrosis factor alpha. Yeah, it's a mouthful, so let's just call it TNF alpha. Now, you can think of this guy as a messenger molecule in your immune system. And when things are working right, he's actually super important. But in autoimmune diseases, the body just goes into overdrive and makes way too much of him. He basically goes rogue, running around screaming, "Attack! Attack!" at your own healthy tissue. And that's what causes all that awful pain, the swelling, the damage. It's all because of this one bad messenger. So the big question became, how do you stop this bad messenger? I mean, you can't just shut down the entire immune system, right? That would be a disaster. Well, back in the 1990s, scientists came up with a plan that was just so clever. And remember, this is the 90s. They were using what was then brand new, cutting-edge recombinant DNA tech. And they didn't just cook up some chemical in a lab. No, they engineered a biological trap. That's why Emerald isn't just a pill you swallow. It's this super sophisticated piece of bioengineering built for one very specific job. Okay, so let's break down how this mission works. Step 1, your body is just flooding the system with those rogue TNF alpha messengers. Then you introduce Enbrel. Now, Enbrel acts like a decoy receptor. Think of it like a bunch of fake targets floating around. So the TNF alpha messengers, they see these decoys and think, aha, a cell to attack. And they go and bind to the Enbrel decoy instead of your actual cells. And poof, just like that, they're taken out of the game. They're intercepted, neutralized, the attack signal gets blocked before it can do any damage. It's just a brilliant strategy. So you might be wondering, what makes this decoy thing so special? Well, other drugs that do a similar job, they act more like guided missiles. They actively hunt down and destroy the TNF-alpha protein. But Enbrel's strategy is totally different. It's not an attacker at all. It's a decoy. It's basically a sponge, a free-floating receptor that just soaks up all those bad messengers, taking them right out of circulation. It's a completely different way of thinking about the problem, and boy, does it work. Okay, so this science is cool and all, but who does it actually help? Let's talk about the real-world impact this has on people's lives. Enbrel has become a go-to therapy for a whole bunch of these inflammatory conditions. We're talking about really debilitating stuff like rheumatoid arthritis, psoriatic arthritis, and even juvenile idiopathic arthritis in kids. It also helps with ankylosing spondylitis, that's one that hits the spine, and the chronic skin condition, plaque psoriasis. And the big question, does it actually work? Oh yeah, the results are pretty staggering. In study after study, we see that somewhere between 60 and 70% of patients get meaningful clinical improvement. Now, 60 to 70% might just sound like a number, but for someone living with chronic pain, it's everything. It's the difference between not being able to hold a coffee cup and making breakfast for your family. It's being able to walk up the stairs again. It is, and I'm not exaggerating, absolutely life-altering. And get this, the relief comes fast. We're not talking about waiting around for half a year to see if something's happening. No, a lot of patients start feeling way better in just 2 to 12 weeks. When you're in pain every single day, that kind of speed means the world. But look, we have to be real here. Any drug that's powerful enough to mess with your immune system is going to have some risks. It's super important to have a balanced view, so let's talk about the side effects. And perspective is everything, right? So if you look at the breakdown, the most common thing by far is just a reaction, right? Where you get the injection, a little redness, maybe some itching, annoying, but usually mild, and it goes away. After that, you've got mild infections, like getting a cold. But the really important thing to see here is that the serious stuff, the severe infections, that's way less common. We're talking only like 1 to 3% of patients. So what are those more serious risks? Well, because Enbrel is tamping down part of your immune system, it can make you more vulnerable to serious infections, things like tuberculosis. And yes, in very rare cases, other serious issues have popped up. And this is exactly why you can't just buy it over the counter. It's a powerful tool, and it's why doctors keep such a close eye on their patients who are taking it. It absolutely requires careful management. But when you step back and you weigh those risks against the incredible benefits it's given to millions of people, there's just no question. Enbrel has earned its spot in medical history. I mean, look at its journey. It was developed back in the 90s, got the FDA's okay in 1998, and here we are decades later and it's still a cornerstone therapy. It really opened the door for this whole new world of biologic drugs for autoimmune disease. You know, there's a quote from one of the sources we looked at that just nails it. It calls Enbrel a major milestone in modern rheumatology. And that's it, right? It wasn't just some new pill. It totally changed the game. It changed what was even possible for patients and gave so many people their lives back. The whole story of Enbrel is just such a great example of how one really clever idea, this whole decoy concept, can completely revolutionize medicine. Which, it leaves you wondering, if this is what they could do with the tech they had back in the 90s, what does the next milestone look like? What's the next big idea that's going to come along and change everything all over again?